I see that our wonderful guest Bonnie Yates is here, and I want to bring her in. Bonnie Yates is a special education attorney. She is amazing. It's like, how can you even find superlatives? But she's really incredible. She's with the Tollner Law Offices and has been working in this field for a really long time, has really specific information that can be really helpful to us. We're welcoming her back to the show. And I hear we're going to start at the beginning. Hello, Miss Bonnie.
Hello. Can you
How
tell
are you
that
today?
Can you tell that I'm like in a bunker?
It does look like you're in a little bit of a bunker. Do I
Yeah.
dare ask what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of decided this morning. I was like, can't we have any fun as lawyers? Does it always have to be like dignified and serious and a neutral background? Out myself.
Your bunker is you're breaking up a little bit though.
Problem with the Wi-Fi out there. You can't
You're going in and out. Is it just me, you guys, or is it?
where I'm sitting. Do you want to? Can we do it over the phone?
We can do phone. We can do that because it is breaking up too much for us to understand you. We might have to do that, Bonnie.
Okay, what number do you want me to call?
You can
Or
call
you gonna
my
call me?
number and I'll put you on. You can call my number
Okay, I'm gonna do that. I think
and
that's
I'll put
better.
you on speakerphone.
Okay.
Well, that was
Alright.
better.
Okay, stand by.
Okay.
Call Shannon.
But I'll appreciate it if you don't give the world my phone number. Just because. I could call you. Why don't here we go. Stand by, everybody. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, so am I muted?
Hey.
Yeah, you muted my mic. Good.
Okay.
Good. All right.
Wonderful.
Well, the fun that I'm having is that I've been living in New York, and I realized that after having survived 3 kids, 2 cats, and a dog, the house in California needed a lot of work. So we're camping in the back of the house essentially. 3 weeks. It's going to be a great adventure. What's back here is my husband's performance studio, which is eclectic to say the least. And then our youngest son turned the other half of this back part of the house, it's like a detached garage, into an apartment. And he's a woodworker, and he's a 25-year-old man. So you can kind of imagine what it looks like back there. I thought it would be really fun to show you guys actually what it looked like, but I think it's too complicated this week. Maybe we'll do it next week. Yeah, so we're camping out for 3 weeks, and I'm practicing law under, let's just say, suboptimal but fun conditions.
Now, hopefully, everybody just watched me reconfigure the phone. So can everybody hear her now, or do I need to reposition the phone? Just write in and tell me if you can hear her okay now, for those of you who are watching. But while we do that, Bonnie, talk to us a little bit about Tollner Law Offices.
Yeah, so when I'm not, like camped out, I'm employed by Tollner Law Offices in San Jose, California. They're a wonderful special education and disability discrimination firm. I tell people that what I love about the firm is that it's both got very skilled, smart attorneys that give me new ideas all the time, and also just people that I'd want to know even if I didn't work with them. People that are really committed. Anyway, we do offer a free consultation. You can go to our website and get more information about that and reach out to me if you want. But what we do on the show is we try to educate you guys about special education issues. And the truth of the matter is most of us all got educated the same way, which is we started at the beginning knowing nothing, going to our first IEP, having it be like gobbledygook, and we've sort of studied it from there, and there's a lot to know. And it's really empowering for clients to understand that they are operating in a quasi-legal environment where there are other people there that may actually have a strategy, and it might not be a strategy to support your family. And where the IEP fits in the whole system of administrative and judicial remedies. So we cover all of that because, I know how much parents of children with autism are capable of doing. And frankly, learning more about special ed law is a piece of cake compared to some of the other things you're asked to do. So, that's how I learned about it. I mean, I had just really quickly, I had like a cover story because I started doing this when I was about, how old was I? So Nick was 4. So I guess I was like 34, 35. And I didn't start doing it seriously till I was about 40. And I already had some gray hair. And so I really used that when I'd walk into an IEP meeting. I wouldn't really know what I was doing, but people didn't know that. They knew I'd been an attorney for, 15 years and, oh, well, she's got gray hair. She's not young. So, so I really just learned on my feet. And a lot of learning can occur for people through stuff that's on the internet. There's a very good national publication called Rights Law, but there's a very good state publication called Special Education Rights and Responsibilities that's put out and updated every year through Disability Rights of California. And even though the Disability Rights of California material is oriented toward California law is basically based on federal special education law. And so what I'm going to talk about, even though it comes from California, it has broad applicability for you, whatever state you're in. We've got a few people on the show that were outside the United States. That's a whole different discussion. But in the 50 states, I think this can be helpful to you. So after having done...
let me just ask this, Bonnie. The second site that you gave, though, is that a membership site? Or are we all...
It's completely free. I'll send it to you after the show.
That would be great. Thank you.
So what we're going to do here, I mean, we've spent the last 2-3 years talking about topics that interested the listeners and topics that interested me. And we've had a pretty broad discussion about, how things changed and continue to change during the pandemic. And now we're going to get back to some more basic discussion about your legal rights. And I just figured, let's start at the beginning because in a way this school year is a new school year, right? Everybody's back in school for better and for worse. So the Special Education Rights and Responsibilities book is free. Shannon will share it with the listeners so that you can go in and use this manual properly. And I have used this a lot of times. I'm not too proud to say that. I am proud to say that the people that wrote this did a beautiful job of talking intelligently about the law while making it understandable. And I think that lawyers use a lot of jargon. They're taught to talk that way in law school. Maybe the effect of it isn't intended, but it intimidates people and we use big words. And usually as a lawyer, there's a smaller word you can use that everybody understands. And we owe each other clear communication. So don't be intimidated when you go to an IEP meeting and a lawyer there or the school district uses acronyms or other jargon that you don't understand. Your education begins with asking people, hey, I don't know what, this abbreviation means. What's the CAS? Oh, that's the cognitive assessment scale. That's something we use when we test cognitive ability when we're doing a psychological assessment. Oh, okay. I didn't know what the CAS was. Thank you. This book is organized by chapters, and I encourage you, when you start looking at the Special Education Rights and Responsibilities, to go right into the book and you can look at the chapters. 16 chapters that can be used separately. Chapter 1 covers a broad explanation of relevant and fundamental concepts and requirements of the law that are addressed more specifically in subsequent chapters. It also includes an explanation of provisions that could not adequately be described in other chapters. And then chapter 2 to 16 are dedicated to particular areas of special education law and provide an in-depth review of the multiple topics under each area. So doesn't that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds like something to put me right to sleep, Bonnie. But let me ask a question. This is the thing that you're talking about is what they give you at every IEP meeting and say you've been provided your rights.
No.
No?
It's not that.
What is
It's not
this?
that. Okay. So maybe I can text it to you on your phone.
Oh, well, my phone is occupied with you right now. But
okay, never mind. We'll do it after the show.
Okay. All right.
The federal law, which applies in California, and the California state law, and the law in your state, all require that you be given information on your special education rights.
Right.
And you go into an IEP meeting, usually they will have already emailed you along with any drafts or any other documents for the meeting. They usually will have emailed you your procedural safeguards. Your procedural safeguards are contained within the federal law and within the law in your state. But federal law is paramount, and so states have to give at least as many rights as you get under federal law.
Okay.
So that's why in California, most things are clearly patterned after the federal law because they have to meet that minimum threshold. Your state law can give more things. They can't take away basic federal rights. So in California, we have a provision in the California Ed Code that says that if you are given an offer by the district that you don't like, you can consent to the parts of the IEP that you like and ask that the district not implement the rest. That provision does not exist in federal law. Oh. Under federal law, you're required to give consent or refuse consent. Okay, so what I'm talking to you about is not from the procedural safeguards. We have looked at the procedural safeguards from time to time. What this is Disability Rights of California's publication called Special Education Rights and Responsibilities. Okay. And for some reason, the easiest way to pull it up is SERR, just not the name of the whole thing, SERR, Disability Rights of California. And you will be looking at exactly what I am looking at and talking to you about now.
Tell me it one more time. SC or SE?
SE is an egg.
SERR.
Disability Rights of California.
Disability Rights of California.
Yeah.
.org or just put that into your Google search?
Well, it's SERR disabilityrightsca.org.
Disabilityrightsca.org.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put it in the chat here and see if we can all be on the same page. Take a look at that and see if I've got it right, Bonnie.
Let's see. Can I do that? Because I'm actually looking at it too.
No, you don't have to. Let me click on it and see if I can. For heaven's sake.
I'm not going to be able to do that easily, unfortunately.
Okay, that's all right. I tried to put it up and I did something else instead. Sorry.
That's all right. SERR.disabilityrightsca.org if you're at home, and then it's // SERR-manual.
I've got it wrong. I've got an of in there. We're going to get this, you guys. We are.
Not Disability Rights of California. I may have misspoken. It's disabilityrightscalifornia.org.
All right.
/SERR-manual.
You keep going, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it so that everybody's got it. You keep going, though.
So here's the thing about the difference between this material that we're going to be talking about and your procedural safeguards that the district gives you. When the district gives you your procedural safeguards, they're written, from my view, in a very neutral manner, and that they don't really point out for parents or explain how the system actually works, which is what parents need. My fantasy is that someday we'll have a world where when your child is diagnosed with a disability, somebody from public education that'll be like your social worker or your special ed coach will sit down and explain to you how special education actually works and be your advocate. But that doesn't happen now. You're thrown in. If you don't hire an attorney or an advocate, you're on your own. All you have really is what they say, which legally speaking is often not correct, and what you can figure out. Okay, so the chapter 1 on basic rights tells you that in your state, special education programs are governed by a combination of state and federal laws. We just talked about that. And in every state, school districts, if they accept federal money, are required to provide each student with a disability with a FAPE. Okay? FAPE means special education and related services that are provided at public expense and without charge. So that's the F, without charge, free. Meet appropriate standards, we talk about that all the time, include preschool, so age 3, through secondary education, which can end when you graduate from high school or on your 22nd birthday if you don't graduate with a diploma, and conform with an individualized education program. Okay, so that's where we start. And so there's also in the law a preference for mainstreaming, for the least restrictive environment. So whenever a child is initially assessed, when determining how to address the unique needs of the child, which is what assessments look at, then have to consider how you can meet those needs in the least restrictive environment. That means to the maximum extent appropriate that students with disabilities should be educated with students who do not have disabilities. And that is codified in the federal law. In addition, FAPE, free appropriate public education, requires that special education students are involved and make progress in the general education curriculum and toward achievement of their IEP goals. Okay? So
Yeah.
that's the first. Do you have any questions about that?
I mean, I do. What's weird about this for me is that how people can take something and twist something, because you can hear that as a parent and you go, that's great. That says that my child can be in a mainstream classroom, and that it has to be a benefit to them. So they can't just park my kid anywhere. There has to be an educational benefit. But
it's a little more nuanced than that. There's a preference, which means that's the default. You start with asking the question, why wouldn't my child be able to be educated in the least restrictive environment? And you see what that would look like. You start from most general ed possible, which might be a general ed setting, and you work back to, essentially like residential treatment or the hospital. But what is least restrictive environment is not automatically gonna be general ed. But the district has to prove that it considered least restrictive environment and it considered general ed and then the continuum of options.
Yeah.
So it is a it's like a presumption, like the presumption of innocence, but the presumption can be rebutted. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I think that's the point that I wanted to make, because Bonnie, that there is the law, and the law is on our kids' side, and that's a wonderful thing. And there are wonderful professionals in schools. I used to work in public schools, and there are some wonderful people there, but they aren't fully funded for IDEA even still. And so they have to figure out how to make it work without enough money. And often what that means is that rather than pay for an aide, which would make the child be able to access the curriculum in the least restrictive environment, they push to put them in special education. And they use this and say, we don't think the child can be successful. But they don't say, but if we had an aide, the child would be successful, to the parents. And I think parents need to know that their kid has a right to that if they can be successful. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And I should have already touched on that in order to access the least restrictive environment, which might be general education, it's not supposed to be like they throw you in cold. It's supposed to be with supports and services that allow you to make successful progress from year to year in that curriculum. And where we see this in autism, and I know you see this all the time, people that are listening to the show, is that most kids with autism come into the system and they have to fight to get appropriate behavioral support in the classroom.
Yeah.
Districts do not routinely offer a well-trained and full-time behavior support component within the child's IEP because it's expensive. That's the only reason they don't do it. They tell you it's for other reasons, like we don't want to Velcro an aid to somebody, or we don't want them to become prompt dependent. That is not the reason. The reason is that an ABA program in California costs about $125,000 a year, and I might need to refine my number because I haven't done my number in a few years. There are a bunch of people out there that are like pulling their hair out and saying, we can't possibly offer $125,000 ABA programs to students in public school. We'll go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Okay. But I have sort of categories of special education disputes that I handle. Right now, at least 30% and maybe 50% are cases where the kid is in public school and I'm fighting for a non-public agency to provide behavior intervention in the general ed environment. And through mediation and litigation, we're able to get those services for the child, but the child should have had those services in the beginning without fighting for them.
Right. But this is the reality. And I need people to hear what you just said, because the law is on your side, but you are going to have to fight for it. And so often the thing that I think that breaks all of our hearts, Bonnie, is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That it's like the Hunger Games. They throw a bunch of parents in and they go, whoever's going to fight for it is the one who's going to get the services for their kid.
Yeah, that's an unfortunately good analogy. And I would say that the squeaky wheel, meaning the person that has legal support gets the grease, is going to be true unless sometimes you have the type of student like I have today. She's was talking to her parents before the show. She's extremely bright. She's on the autism spectrum. She did not adjust well to coming back into school after the pandemic. She was very happy at home, having her mom be her one-to-one support and working on the computer. She was getting positive feedback from her teacher. So she comes back to school in the fall and she's got a different kind of teacher that doesn't want problems. And all of a sudden the whole school has turned on her. And she's getting into altercations with school staff and other children, and they're going to force her out. And at that point, they're going to be willing to pay for private school for her because they want her out. But why should a child have to go through that?
They shouldn't. Oh, it just breaks my heart, Bonnie. But we start with, and I think you're absolutely right to start at the beginning. We start with what it says right on the screen there, your rights. Because I think when we empower parents to understand that legally the rights are on the side of your child, that's empowering. So that you know it's worth fighting.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's worth fighting for. These services are worth fighting for, and people do win when they fight. It's uphill, but they win.
You know what? Actually, families that are represented that have attorneys, they get settlements like 90+% of the time.
Yeah.
But without a lawyer, they will trap you at the IEP level. They will not educate you about your rights, and you will have limited options because the people at the IEP level are not authorized to offer the kind of remedies that our students need.
Well, and on that note, unfortunately, we're out of time, Bonnie, but we're going to continue this conversation and keep putting things into your backpack for those of you at home so that you will know what your rights are and what your child's rights are. Bonnie, tell us.
If you look at the publication, you can see where we're going with this. It's a complete syllabus of where we're going to go. This is going to be a very comprehensive special ed training.
There we go.
And so you can look ahead next week and you can see that I'm going to be talking about the difference between the difference between federal and state laws, which we already touched on, and what is the definition of special education.
Fabulous. So Bonnie, tell us,
do assessment, which is huge.
Tell us how we get a hold of you. If somebody's in Southern California and they're like, Bonnie, I want you to fight for me, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can reach me through the website. You can go in and ask to have a consultation with me, or you can call me. My phone number is 310-245-1968.
You're going to have to say that again slowly so Traven can write that down.
310-245-1968.
1968. Okay. Bonnie, thank you so much for all of your expertise, and Pat Grayson DeYoung said that as well. Thank you for sharing your expertise and advocacy of our people with disabilities. And
thank you, everybody, for getting together and letting us have this time.
We'll see you next week. Thank you, Bonnie.
Good.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.